All right. Good morning, everyone. Very warm welcome to Reece Anderson, who is joining us live this morning at 11 a.m. from Brisbane, isn't it, Reece?
Sunshine Coast, yeah.
From Sunshine Coast. Very good.
Yeah.
That's lovely. What's the weather like over there?
It's all right. Bit of blue sky and a bit of cloud, but it was
It
raining
is.
this morning. But it's
Oh,
hot.
that
It's quite warm now.
yeah. Oh, that's excellent. Yeah, over here in Chinchilla, we've had a lot of rain, so I am enjoying it, though. I have to say.
Yeah. I think
So
the past
yes,
few weeks we've all had a bit of rain, I think.
yeah, no, it's really, really good. So thank you so much for joining me this morning. It is absolutely great to have you along.
No
Just
worries.
before we get into it, I just want to read out a couple of helplines for anyone who might get triggered, obviously throughout this live, which can be very, very natural as well. And obviously, if you're battling or you know anyone that is battling, then please do make sure that you reach out. So we have the men's helpline, which is 1300 789 978. We have the Beyond Blue line, which is 1300 867 888. And then we have the suicide helpline, which is 131114. And I know that Reece or myself will be more than happy to help you out as well if you just want to swing us a message or reach out to us. You know, we're definitely here, and we can also try to refer you to someone or some other help that we do know of. All right, so we're just going to do a quick introduction of who we are and what brings us here today. So I'll start. My name is Kayla, and I am CEO of Country Coaching. So I'm based in rural Queensland, and support services over here are really, really minimal and hard to find. So I really had a passion for starting this up due to my own experiences with trauma and mental health. And I've combined those with my education. So I am currently doing a dual degree. One of them is psychological sciences. And so, yeah, I'm very, very passionate about this. And I run out of the Fog the Trauma Network, which brings anyone, absolutely anyone, can come and share their story here for free, live. And I hope to reach as many people as possible to give them hope to know that they are not alone. And I also run meditation and breath work, bringing holistic approaches to rural Queensland. All right, Reece, tell us a bit about yourself.
Beautiful. Oh no, I don't know if I can match that. Jeez. Um, Crazy. Awesome. No, it's good. No, it's so good. And I think you're right. Those rural areas really do get, they miss out. I mean, with the work we do in schools, we get a lot of rural people, schools reaching out. And obviously just from a funding point of view, we can't always get there. So yeah, I totally get it. So a bit about me. So I'm the founder of Where Become Anything, where I predominantly really focus with parents and teens. I've worked in mental health the past 5 or 6 years. And a big part of that, I guess, was me seeing would work on the one but not the other. And therefore, if one person, you send the kid home to the same environment and then vice versa, right? So nothing was changing. So I'm really big on working with both parties. And sometimes it can be as simple as just changing language or, listening more. Like it's not rocket science stuff, but sometimes we don't know what we don't know. So I do that. And then I'm also a regional coordinator for Blokes Foundation up here on the Sunshine Coast in Moreton Bay. And we run mental health programs in schools for young men, which is amazing. Absolutely amazing and awesome stuff. So, yes, I do that for most of my week. And then I do my own stuff for the other part of the week. And as you mentioned in the intro, I've had my own lived experience from probably just after I finished school and went on for probably too long. Due to a lot of probably reasons we'll speak about today. So,
Wow, that is fantastic, Reece, and so empowering because honestly, speaking as a woman, and I mean this with no offense to any woman out there who's ever gone through stuff and depression, trauma, mental health, all those things. But I think that there is this stigma that we're slowly breaking through, right? Where we're talking about mental health and we're really encouraging the outspokenness of it and seeing it for what it is, because often when we can't see mental health, it's like that physical sort of ailment. You can see that someone's broken their leg, but you can't always see that someone's going through a really, really tough time. But I really, really think that the men's realms of mental health need so much work and so much advocacy And I am just so, so proud that you are here today to represent that and for what you do. So thank you so much, Reece. From me, honestly, it's absolutely fantastic.
No. Well, thanks for having me here. I'm always willing to jump in, and yeah, it's not really about us, right? It's about trying to, like you said before, trying to impact other people.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So on that, let's start off with, okay, tell me a little bit about, if you don't mind, as you know, if we ever go into anything that's a bit too vulnerable for you, you don't want to talk about, you just let me know.
Yeah, all good.
But tell me a little bit about your life, Reece.
A bit about my life. Oof. Yeah, I guess, I mean, I had a pretty good upbringing. I'm the oldest child. Grew up in New Zealand, so I'm from New Zealand originally. Spent all my childhood, teenage years, and part of most of my 20s there. And then I was a top sportsman, so I excelled at sport. So I ran for New Zealand, played rugby, played rep tennis, played rep in most sports I did. I was probably a natural sportsman. I love sport, and maybe sport hit a lot of my troubles. Really, probably that it was easy to push things away because you put energy into that and didn't have to probably worry on stuff. So, but I think the big thing for me was I was a big worrier. I worried about looking back, some pretty silly things, but at the time it wasn't silly, right? So I'm from Wellington, which is a really massive earthquake place, for example. And often on the news you'd hear, well, Wellington's due for the biggest earthquake ever. And then so my head would go to, oh my God, we're all going to die. The building's going to collapse, da-da-da-da-da. So that would be how my mind would always work around stuff. So I didn't know it at the time, but looking back, I think that was a big impact. And and then obviously at about 19, 20, I think it was, I'd just come home from tennis practice, literally started cooking some dinner, and I just started feeling like I couldn't swallow, and I was panicky, and my heart rate was up, and I was like, what is going on? I don't know, I had no idea. I remember pacing the house. No one was home, it was just me. My family were all away. I rang a mate, and he was kind of like, oh, no, you'll be right, mate. And then I was like, nah. So I rang the ambulance, and the ambulance actually told me they wouldn't come out. They said, no. They said, no, you're okay. You're having a panic attack. And I was like, what's that?
Yeah.
And I said, what's that? Because this is, we're thinking we're going back to like 1999 here, early 2000s, right? So it's definitely none of this conversation was happening. So
nope.
So that kind of happened, and then I remember my grandparents' home, so they came around, and then they were like, whoa, you are not good at all. And so they rang the ambulance, and the ambulance did come. And like I was sitting like I am now, but my heart rate was about 180 beats per minute from doing nothing. And then the very next day, I went to my GP, who had been my GP for a very long time, and he just gave me a script for some medications, which I didn't really understand either. I was just like, okay, yeah. And then from that day, pretty much my whole life changed. And I do believe that I was given medications I shouldn't have had. And so the medications were for depression, and there was no way I was depressed because I was active, I was sporty. Yeah, I wasn't depressed, but I feel like they made me that. And then within 3 months of that, I developed very severe physical tics that I'd never ever had before. So I had full-on head swings, full-on arm swings. I would scratch my forehead to the point of blood. And also would grab at my rib cage too. So became this real security blanket. But obviously to the outside world, I look like a bit of a crazy person. It would flare up when I played my sports. So over the next few years, I pretty much stopped playing a lot of my sports because of the embarrassment and misunderstanding, and I didn't really understand what was going on. They couldn't even tell me what was going on. And then, I was just given more medications, and no one really stopped to actually made me understand maybe where this has come from. And so this went on for the next 12 to 15 years.
Wow.
And obviously you can, at 25, tried to take my life because I was done. I put a lot of my energy into my work, so I just keep trying to climb the corporate ladder. That was kind of like, well, I can't do my sport, so I'll just put everything into my work ridiculous hours, avoid what was really happening. I was at my doctor's probably every 2 weeks. He probably thought I was crazy. I was like, I can't deal with this. Like, this is crazy. I was popping Xanax like no tomorrow.
Yes, I've been there.
for that calmness. And then then alcohol became my self medication. So I got to a point where I was probably drinking every night, just to sleep, and when really deep down again, just avoiding and not understanding and not feeling understood either. And then at 27, things weren't great back home, and I had a good mate over here in Australia, in Brisbane. So I just booked a ticket and off I came over. And at the time, I was like, I'm just coming over for a holiday. But really, looking back, I was trying to run away from my stuff. But here's the thing, people, that you can go wherever you want, but your stuff's inside you, right? So I was probably good for a few months, and then I just got worse again. And my first experience of a doctor over here, walked in. I was actually there for the flu. I was really run down and sick, but my tics, when I get sick, my tics would flare up more. And he thought I was a good case study. So without my permission, just went and got about 10 medical students to come in the room, and I was treated like a guinea pig. So I just ended up telling him to F off and just walked out. So that didn't really help me either.
No.
And then just lost my mum at 30, who was pretty much the only person that didn't probably judge me or had, was always looking for alternate things. And I tried so many things, but looking back, probably the one thing I didn't do was take self-responsibility. So I just blamed the doctors, the nurses, the mums, the dads, my family, my partners, blamed everyone, but I never actually looked at myself.
Yeah. Do you think that fear played a part in not taking that responsibility?
Yeah, I don't know. I look at fear. When I think of fear now, I think of it's kind of false evidence appearing real, right? That's how I look at it. So I think I was just always looking for things to back up what I was really telling myself, which was just BS, right? I'm this, I'm that. So I just kept trying to find probably the wrong evidence rather than going, actually, why don't you just go? And I didn't really know. I didn't understand. Like, I didn't really understand anything. I had these big, massive words and these letters saying I had this, this, and this, and it made no sense to me. I was just like, what the heck? How do I just go from that to that?
Yes.
And then everyone around you is just going, whoa. And, I was horrible. I was a horrible drunk. I had a lot of broken relationships. People left my life because they didn't want to be around me, which is, looking back, fair enough. But I think there was probably a fear of the unknown and not knowing. But I think I was in such a rut, in a dark place, I couldn't see anything outside of that.
Yeah.
I had people telling me, hey, you're this, you should go do this, you should go there. And the more people did that, I was like, no way, go away, get away from me. Like,
absolutely.
Push,
you
right?
Go into, you go into avoidance, I think, because in your mind, it's kind of that thing of, but you're not living my life, so who are you to tell me?
100%. You're not. Yeah, it's like, well, you don't understand, right? But really, these people were just trying to hold me to a standard that I couldn't see for myself. So for me, it was how it's like, if you just think of when you're a bit run down and tired and you feel that real heaviness, I just had that every day for years. And it's just like, when is this feeling going to go away? And and then when I lost my mum at 30, that just was like one person that kind of was my rock, and that person, and she was only young herself, and I was like, what the heck? But at the same time, it kind of snapped me into this, like, you need to go sort your stuff out. Which, was another 4 or 5 year journey after that. But it was just a crazy ride. Like, and I always say to people, like, it doesn't matter where you come from, whether you come from a rich family, a poor family, a good family, a shitty family, mental health doesn't discriminate, right?
No, that's right.
It doesn't discriminate. And I didn't have any tools. No one spoke about, like, I was a top sportsman, and no one ever talked to me about the mental side.
Yeah.
Right, when I was growing up, right, back in the 80s and 90s, for me, it was like, well, physically, I was awesome. I could look out. I was pretty fit. I knew what to do, but no one talked about this part, and this part is one that got me. So what we worked out was, when I met my daughter's mum 2012, I think. She put me on to a GP because I was always searching for a GP that could get me off meds, because I just knew these weren't helping me, right? I knew, and to anyone out there, I'm not saying meds are bad, but I knew this is probably a catalyst for, if you read a lot of anxiety, depression medication, it's all more symptoms of what you're experiencing, right? Well, I wasn't having any of these symptoms. I wasn't having, apart from one panic attack, I didn't have any of these symptoms. But then I got them, and obviously I couldn't hide my stuff because my physical movements would tell everyone pretty much how I was feeling, right? So, so I had, so I went to this GP, and many GPs would tell me, no, this is you for life. And in my head, I'm like, no way. And I think my sport brain, because I was pretty mentally tough in terms of I could push myself pretty hard, that I think that always has helped me get through. It's kind of like, well, no, you don't have to settle for this. This is not cool. I was put on more medication in Australia. I was put on this other one that's literally, if you touched my arm, I couldn't even feel anything. So in a relationship, I literally did not feel skin on skin, nothing. I was so numbed out. It was just yuck. The only time I felt anything was if I was having a few drinks. I was like, yeah, this is great. And then obviously then the crash and burn of 2 or 3 days after that was not good for me or anyone. Anyway, this GP, and I just said to her, look, this is what I want to do. And this a little Asian lady, right? And she's still my GP today, most amazing person I've ever met. And she looked at me and looked at me and said, yeah, I'll help you, only if you're willing to take some responsibility. But she said in this quite stern voice, and I was like, oh, okay, yep. Anyway, but she saw me every week for 2 years.
Wow.
Every week for 2 years. And through that time, we had to work through a lot of stuff. I remember she drew me a diagram, and it had biological, physical, and emotional. And she goes, where do you think you need to work on? And I was like, oh, physical, because of my movements. And she just put this massive circle around emotional. She goes, no, it's emotional. And through the work with her, because I've been to psychologists and counselors and just didn't really connect, but she just had this presence about her. She spent an hour with me every week, and she would hear me, listen to me, give me things to do, and I would do them. And I think what came out of all of that was that we actually, when I was 16, I watched 2 people die of a heart attack within 2 weeks. Not people close to me, but people at my running club. So within 2 weeks, I saw 2 people die of a heart attack. And that's what we think triggered that panic attack that day. Yes. So that's what it actually was, right? And then, because now, even now, I don't really have my movements like I do now. I've worked really hard and got through all that. But
sorry, Reece, can I just quickly ask you?
Yeah.
So how long did it take for you to actually realize and get that answer? Was that with the doctor that you were now seeing for that too?
Yeah. So that was
when it clicked, and it was like, oh.
That was about 13 or 14 years after the panic attack.
Wow. Yeah.
So 13, 14 years.
Yeah.
Or can you go? Yeah. About 13 to 14 years. So, so it was a crazy ride. And then, but obviously there was so much more to it, because over that 13, 14 years, I had so much baggage and yuckiness and stuff that I had suppressed down that had to work through all of that. And I was probably not a good person to be around. I would just drop down and cry at the drop of a hat. But the good thing was, over that time, I got off all my meds. By end of 2014, I was off all my meds, and this year will be 10 years no medication. So
I was about to ask you that. Yeah,
10 years, and like I said before, this isn't going screw medications, whatever. I guess there's a place for them, but I also know that for my body, I shouldn't have been on them. Plain and simple, I shouldn't have been on them from the start. And am I angry? Not anymore, because it is what it is, because it's made me the person I am today. It's created a lot of things now that I guess probably wouldn't have been created if I didn't go through that. And at the same time, there's just this kind of like, well, I think sometimes you've got to go through some rubbish to see the beauty of your own life.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that having these experiences, the more people that I talk to and the more people that have experienced the mental health realms, the more that it comes out. And exactly what you say, there is nothing wrong with medication. So for anyone that's watching that's on meds or anything like that, that's definitely something. Reece, myself, are definitely not trying to say, hey, don't take medication or stop your meds or there's something wrong with medication. I think, though, that something that is so important to realize within the mental health system is that medication and understanding go hand in hand. And also, where you're referred to and how much you're talking about your stuff and really getting underneath all the big stuff, going underneath all the layers to actually see, like you just said, Reece, watching those two people have heart attacks. And that's a huge impact to the mind when you watch someone die. And I can say that because I've been through the same thing and had to give resuscitation. And it's this huge trauma to the mind because you need to digest, there is life and then there is death. And that really does impact you. The thing is, though, as well, is that we are so much in, I think, and have been for a very long time, in this place of, oh, well, it happened, shit happens, you got to keep on moving, that happened over there, leave it in the past, don't dwell on it. And whilst it's very necessary not to dwell on things, we definitely need to work through things in order for us to understand, okay, this is what's happening in my mind, this is what's happening in my body, let me kind of move on and advance. But I wanted to, something that has really struck me, and it's funny because obviously having you as someone who's on my page and I watch your stuff a lot, etc., I would never have said that you were someone that battled with tics, right? So how does that look for you today? And as a young person, how did that impact your life?
Obviously from that 19-year-old onwards, it was horrific. Like, I remember, I'd have my mum going, just stop. It's like, I can't. It's just, and it would be worse at the end of the day. So sometimes I'd be on a train coming home from work and I'd just hide myself in the corner and just try and hold my arms in so they're not flapping around. Because sometimes I'd hit someone, not intentionally, but it just like, my arms would fly off and hit someone. And I'd be like this sort of stuff, these head kind of things like that. And I'd get probably some of the worst things I had was, I have adults coming up and mimicking me. Like, she literally taking the piss, like just trying to, and it was, not kids, this is adults, which, that was pretty confronting. But then I guess now, through that time with the GP, that I've worked out that it's actually that's my alarm. That's my body telling me something. So I usually carry it in my left shoulder here. So I don't get the big movements like I used to. Sometimes I might have a little one, but most people wouldn't even know if I did it.
Yeah.
I do a bit of a throat thing and stuff, but I now know that it's my body going, my body needs something. So I just say what, and sometimes it's as simple as a drink of water, or I need some food and nourishment. Sometimes it's like, I need to go deal with something that's actually stressing me out. I need to go and have a hard conversation, or I need to go and do whatever. So, I've worked out now that it's actually my stress response. It's actually my things that's telling me slow down, don't rest, whatever it might be. So I've reframed it to going, well, this is actually a powerful thing.
Yeah.
Because it's telling me, and I do think, and there's so many things out there about tics and all that sort of stuff.
Yes.
It's a stress response. I don't care what you say. It's a stress response, and we overcomplicate it.
We do, and there's not a lot of that is known about it, is there? Like, there's a lot of different theories that come out about it, and a lot of interest in it, I think. But it's one of those things where not a lot of things are known about it. So it's amazing as well to have you speak on this. It's very, very interesting.
Yeah, so I guess for me, it's just been a learning thing myself, and I haven't read up a lot about it. I just figured out once, I guess, the GP helped validate that, well, this is a stress response, and the more I kind of dealt with a lot of my deep dark stuff, the less it showed up. And now, like if I get a bit stressed and nervous, I can feel a little bit of tension there sometimes. It's like, oh, okay, and then I just have to ask myself, what do I need? And sometimes it's simple stuff, and sometimes it's okay, I need to actually go and have a real hard conversation, or actually I'm not doing okay, and that's all right.
Yeah.
And take action on the back of that. So Yeah, so it was, but yeah, like it's still, I think people close to me can still pick up probably if I'm doing it a little bit, but nothing like I used to, like nothing at all.
Yeah.
Like, and I feel free, if you like, compared to how I used to be. Because yeah, it was terrible. It was just shit all through my 20s, and you go out with your mates, and it would flare up sometimes, and people just are nasty. People are nasty.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. And I think that when you're a teenager and you're wanting to, everything is making an impression on the world. You know, everything is making an impression and wanting to influence and be influenced. And so, yeah, I can only imagine. So now let's talk about, so you've been through these different stages and you come to this GP, and I honestly believe that it sounds like anyway, like she saw you, Reece, you know, like she actually saw you, and she took the time to really want to do something with you. And I think that makes things so much different and so much better as well, because you see this person that's actually, hey, you know what, you see me. And sometimes they come across as a bit tough, but you know that there's something more in there, and that's probably what she saw there with you. But what did that look for you in how your life started to change and taking responsibility? In what ways did you start to take responsibility?
Yeah, well, I mean, it was, to be honest, it was confronting to start with, to have this person just go, yeah, it's great they see me, but it was like, oh, they can actually see me. Like, they can see past the behavior and everything. They see, actually, there's a little boy in there who needs to come out. So that was a bit confronting. But I guess the more I went there, I was like, oh. And then I would, it's like when you go to a physio or a chiro and they give you exercises to do, right? Well, they give it to you so you don't have to come back and so you get better. So I guess initially I was a bit blasé. I was like, yeah, whatever. And then she's like, well, you can come here every week. It's only an hour, but it's a waste of time if you're not doing anything. And I was like, oh. So I guess first thing was she held me accountable in that regard. Well, if you actually want to do this, you need to do the stuff in the days that you're not here. And then I guess things I had to take responsibility for were probably a lot of my actions, probably that I had done to others, or how I'd come across to people. But probably the biggest one was how I treated myself.
Yes.
That was actually probably the most confronting thing. So I couldn't really deal with anyone else until I'd actually gone, do you know what? You've actually not been kind to yourself. You've actually been really hard on yourself. You've sabotaged yourself. And I had to really confront a lot of those things because, I got into a pretty bad self-belief system of who I was. And this was an opportunity to confront that and then having to reframe some of that to go, well, actually, I have a lot of good qualities here. But like I said, at the same time, it was just like this emotional roller coaster because when you're coming off meds and then you're dealing with stuff and you're doing all this stuff, it's just like and I was still had the drinking as well. Like I'd cut back to what I was, but I was still drinking and stuff like that. And
it's tough.
And I guess, I'm trying to avoid some things. But I think, it wasn't an overnight fix. And I think this is where people need, just because you go to therapy or you talk to someone once.
Yes.
Sometimes it's got to be consistent. I live on this quote. This is something that I probably came across about 12 years ago, and it's consistently good beats occasionally great, and it's 100% true. Like, you're consistent in giving yourself what you need, you'll show up the best you can be, right? If you just give yourself what you need once a month, then you're not going to be showing up for who you are. So I guess I learned that you know what, I don't have to give out all my cup to everyone. I can actually give a lot back to myself. So, I was having just things. I was having baths every night just to stop and then, meditate. I was a big runner. So I always thought you got to flog your body. You got to flog yourself. Well, actually, I've learned over the years, I don't need to flog myself because it's actually not helping me. I'm already depleted. I'm just depleting myself more. So actually just going for a gentle walk is okay too. Doing some yoga is okay too. So I guess all those things was about going, whoa. And that was quite hard. I think it's hard for people to go, well, I have to do stuff for me. Oh, what? But that's the biggest thing I talk to people about when I work with parents and teens. I'm like, what are you doing for yourself? Oh, and people get confronted with that question.
Yes, it
Hard
is
out confronted.
confronting. Yeah.
So yeah, I think so many things, I guess, to confront. But I think the doctor, my GP, made it so much easier. Just broke it down, and we took it 1 week at a time. And
Yeah.
because I'm a real like, let's get it all done. Let's just get off all the meds. And she's like,
Yes,
no,
me
Reece,
too. Yeah.
no. And we did it. It was like I said, it was like a 2-year process here. It wasn't just. And for those listening, like, I tried to do it myself a few times. Come off the meds myself. Don't do it. Like, they tell you not to do it. Don't do it, because then you put yourself backwards, and you do impact those around you. But yeah, we just did this gentle kind of 2 years where it was like, and then after that, her motto was like, she goes, I never want to see you when you're sick. I want to see you when you're well, so we can keep working on it. So I still see her every 2 months.
That's beautiful. Yeah.
Every 2 months, we just.
I was going to ask you. Yes.
Yeah. So we just like, she's in Brisbane. I just do a Zoom call with her every couple of months. I book in, and we just, she can read me through the Zoom. She can just read me. She goes,
yeah,
I can see your shoulders twitching a bit. What are you holding on to? I'm like, oh,
wow.
And she just knows. She just knows me.
Wow.
Knows my body probably better than me sometimes. So
yeah.
So that was kind of the journey for me there. And I think, and to those listening, I'm still confronting stuff. There's still things that come up. Things don't just go away.
Yeah.
Things don't just go away.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there's like freshness, and when you deal with your stuff and get rid of some of that yuckiness, it creates space for bringing in more good things. And I think that's where we can I became it. You become kind of, well, this stuff's just normal, and letting some of this yucky stuff go is like, well, who am I? Who am I going to be? Who's going to care for me if I'm not that? But guess what? When you work through that and open up these other doors, there's all these other people going, yeah, I'm there. Let's go. Like, I want to hold you and for the person that you are through the good and the bad.
Yes. Yeah. 100%. Absolutely. What I think for the people that are watching, let's just talk about, just for a little while, the things. So I know that you continue to see this great support that you have, like you just said, via the Zoom calls, exercise. I know that you enjoy your walks, that sort of thing. But what else are you implementing? And like, when you feel yourself, whether it be the triggers or, those responses, those bodily responses that for you are physical, and the tics, for me, it's emotional, overwhelm, the anxiety. I feel like everything's just crumbling, so we come up with these ways to help ourselves. And this is part of the rehabilitation, I think, in bringing yourself in this constant work. So what are some of the other things that you try, Reece, or that you do that have really impacted your life?
I think the first thing is try not to let things get to crisis, right? So it's really like I said, for me, it's knowing my body. So I know if I'm feeling a bit tight or ticky around my left side, I'm like, okay, I need to take some course of action. And that could be, I went and saw a counsellor for 6 months last year, and it wasn't even bad. I went and saw them. I was actually overwhelmed because it was too many good things. It sounds crazy, right? But it was like, well, this is actually a lot going on. And once I got there, there was more to it. So I had that space, because I see a lot of people, they use their friends and their family, their partners as their counsel, and then they don't get what they want, right? Or they only get told what they need to hear, not what they need to hear. So it's okay to go and have a space that's just for you. I do things like I go to a Reiki lady who's up the road. Like, that might sound woo-woo, but do you know what? That just helps me align with my energy. I'm all about trying different things to it. So I've seen her, about 7 times in the past 2 months, like, because that's been something that's haven't been sleeping. There's been all these things, and she's just helped me unlock some other things that weren't there. So I think being open-minded to stuff, but just basic things. I just drink a lot of water, eating good food, cutting back on those things that, alcohol and things like that I just know that aren't any good. Putting time into, like, spending time with my daughter, like, that's massive. Yes. Like, currently we're doing a challenge. We're doing 100 things over the next 4 years. So we've got these different things that we're doing together So,
Oh, fantastic.
so working on those things, and for me, that's about trying to empower her that anything's possible. So we've got a
Yes.
little YouTube channel that we've started up, and just doing things with her to try and I guess create some cool stuff. So when you put time in here, you can put more time in out there, and I think that's where a lot of people just empty themselves. Like working in mental health, the biggest thing I saw was all these broken people and unhealed people trying to heal and help unbroken people. That's not healthy.
No,
it's not healthy.
No.
And probably my biggest advice to myself is that I've taken over the years is just own your stuff before you can think you can get in the ring and help someone else.
Yeah. I 100% agree with that. Just on this with regard to seeing someone and seeking that help, one of the things that I really want to hear your point of view on this because of the work that you do. One of the things that I hear a lot is, I've tried that, but I'm on a waiting list, or I can't get in straight away, or the person that I'm seeing, kind of like what we've both experienced in our own ways, where that person that you're seeing, kind of, you hear these really big words and no one's actually really kind of taking you in to actually work through your stuff with you in a really simple process. Or it's the thing of the six visits or the 7 visits that you get under mental health, so it's these really short sort of stagmatic ones, and then you fall out and you fall back into a loop or a pattern of destruction again, and then you're trying again to get back in. For those that are stuck in this and trying to work through it, Reece, what do you recommend?
I recommend you have someone outside of that too. Someone that's maybe isn't a counselor or psychologist. They maybe just someone, and not a friend either, but a mentor or a coach, or just someone on the side there who you can go to more regularly if you just need to dump some stuff out. And not taking away from what you're doing with your counselor and stuff, but just having another person there. Like, I've got kind of 4 or 5 people I know I can just call if I'm in the shit, and that's kind of more. I would call them mentors, but some of them are close people to me. But it's kind of like, I just know, depending on what I need, I can go to these people and I know what I'm going to get.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think a big thing
absolutely.
for people, for people is that sometimes when we have the help or we're on a wait list, we think we can't do anything. We can't do anything, but we can. We can do something. You can try and control your sleep. You can control what goes into your mouth, and you can control what you watch online. There's things that we can do that, you can control getting outside for half an hour and getting some vitamin D. There's some little things you can be doing.
Absolutely.
Until you get to that place where you need to go and dump out the real hard stuff, right? There's some little things we can be doing every day. And I call them 1%ers, right? Because 1% of our day is 15 minutes. And I say to people, if you can't give yourself 1% of your day to yourself, then that's not cool. 1% is 15 minutes. 15 minutes. That's it. Like, if we can't give that to ourselves, then, we're always going to be just struggling. So I think it's, there's waitlists out there. There's people, but sometimes, but also through your workplaces, you've got EAP. You can get in pretty quick there, and you don't have to be in person. You can do online. You can do over the phone. You can do through messaging. There's so many different ways now that I feel like sometimes we just say these things because we're probably making an excuse because we don't really want to go confront it because it's scary, right? And when I'm working with parents and stuff, mate, the first 2 sessions, they'll just waffle stories because they're not feeling good, right? They're like, this is confronting. But for me, it's about making them feel comfortable and just letting them go for a little bit, and then you build that rapport and stuff. So, and I think the other thing too is find the right person you connect with. If you don't connect with someone, don't stay there.
Yes, this is so important.
Because and it's not the person's fault. They are who they are. But
That's
if you're
right.
You're not gelling. If your gut is telling you this isn't safe, or I don't feel I'm getting what I want, it's okay. It's okay just to walk out of there and go, hey, look, thanks very much. Is there someone else you can recommend? Or you go find someone else. Like, that's okay to do that. Their feelings won't be hurt because they understand that sort of stuff.
That's right. Absolutely. You owe it to yourself to just, don't waste your own time. Don't waste someone else's time. just go in there. And what you say about the support system or your support network is just so important. And the other thing is, now these days we really do live in a day and age where, unless you are stuck somewhere where, you're probably out in a rural area or something like that, where you don't have a lot of internet, etc., it's so easy, even on YouTube, the self-help things that they have going on there. I'm sure you yourself, Reece, with the work that you do, don't mind, someone clicking in and saying, hey, Reece, I'm having a bit of a hard time, or whatever it is. And that doesn't come with a charge or it's more like, this is what we can try and help you with, or what I can try and help you with. And then you refer them and you go from there and all those things.
100%.
Yeah. So it's absolutely fantastic. Your work with teens and parents, this is really amazing stuff. And at the same time,
Different.
I look at, yes. And that is what is so fantastic about it, because breaking those barriers is not always easy, right?
No, 100%. No.
Yeah.
No. What do you mean with the parent and the teen, or both, or?
Yes. Yeah. With the parent and the teen, and I remember back to when I was a teenager with my mum, and I gave her a hard time. And then she was working through her own stuff, and trying to pull it together, I think, for us girls, and trying to maintain a job. And, there was a broken marriage life and violence in the family. And it was just so full on. And it's funny how that really impacts you as, you're growing up. And I think this is another part of this show, Reece, where it's about allowing people to see that, if you want to use the word, the symptoms or the stuff that we go through, if you're in this enough and you partake in these sorts of things enough, or you speak to enough people that go through the hard times, you will link it to yourself, and you will see that there are these patterns that are the same for all of us. It's this thing of, oh, wow, gee, I've experienced that too. Or, I also felt the anger. Or, I was also numbing, and it doesn't mean that you're a bad person. And it doesn't mean that it's the end of the world. And yes, we have to have a bit of tough love and take, exactly like what you're saying, take that responsibility and find those ways to become better people, for ourselves and for others. But it can be done.
Oh, 100%. And it's, I guess, you can't force someone to take a step forward and want to get help, right? So that, I think, responsibility starts with taking a step forward, going, you know what, I need some help here. And I find with parents, they find it really hard to get support, because then they think it's a reflection of them being a bad person or a bad parent. Well, it's nothing to do with that. You're just probably carrying your own, like you said, your own stuff from your own childhood, and now it's impacting your own environment. And if no one's there to really help make that clear to you and make changes, then your kid is then going to take that and they're going to do the same thing, and so on, right? So someone's got to be I call it the intergenerational change. And if someone's not going to be that, then nothing changes for our future.
Yeah, absolutely. So just as a man, I try to make these about an hour. So in the next kind of 15 minutes, can we just talk about your point of view of being a bloke in today's, society. And I know that you've mentioned back to the 80s, and that would have been so challenging, because not only was mental health not out there, and often our mine were the same. My grandparents, my parents kind of like, harden up, get over it, move along, and they did the best was what they knew and what they had been taught. But as a bloke now, what do you think needs to be a real focus for youth, for men, for blokes, whatever age they are, in trying to help open the portals of mental health and get more happening for blokes?
Oh, so many things. I guess what we see a lot of young men that don't feel heard. They feel dismissed. They feel judged. And that can come from teachers, parents, themselves, or whatever. And there is a real lack of space for them to feel heard. And I feel like we're in this place of where kind of a lot of parents just rely on the school but then the school needs the parents to step up, and there's this kind of realm going around them. Well, the government needs to do this, but then it's like everyone forgets about the little person sitting there going, well, what about me? Do I get a say here? So yeah, I mean, I think a lot of, there's a lot more broken families now, a lot more separations, and regardless of whether how old they are, they're impacted in some way. And so, I think we've got to get away from just looking at the behavior. That's probably my first thing. The behavior is telling us something. Sometimes they don't even know why they're doing the behavior. But if you can get to the deep part of why they're doing the behavior, then work on that, the behavior will change over time. I feel like blokes, there's not enough role models out there in some of these young boys' families. Like a lot of boys I've seen with single mums, dad's either not in the picture or he's distant. So there's no firm male role model. If that person is there, they're probably only adding to what the stereotypical male should look like anyway, right? So, and then that as a byproduct is, how they treat women, how they treat themselves. I mean, if you look at the domestic violence, 93% of women, I'm not saying it doesn't happen to men because it does.
It does.
You look at the one punch kills, that's men. So that's, again, violence. So there's all these things telling us, but I just think it goes back to boys are very different. Like, I remember in a classroom, like I was high energy. Like, get me out. The teachers that got us out and played a bit of sport in between the things, we thrived. The ones that just tried to control us and keep us in our little bubble, we just exploded because it was like, well, that's not who we are, right? So, and I think there's so much more opportunity out there, but we don't seem to take it with what we should, with as much as we can. So, I'm kind of just rambling here, but I feel like
it's
value. I feel like boys are really lost right now. We do a lot of work with the top bloke stuff around around this sort of stuff, and I guess 9 times I'll ask some of the boys that we work with. I say, who here just doesn't feel hurt, and like 95% of their hands go up every time. They don't feel hurt. So in the space that we're in, we get these boys sharing some massive stuff, and you'll find they'll look around the room and they can just go, oh, they've got the same challenges as me, because we don't speak about it, or
exactly.
Boys and men, we're good at suppressing, right? We're good at suppressing, and if we are expressing, it's usually in a negative, toxic way, right? Through anger, through violence, through whatever. But I just feel, and I feel then social media's played a big part. I feel that just in gaming, all those things is just feeding in. But my biggest thing, home environment. Whatever their environment is at home, whatever the boundaries or lack of boundaries is, that is impacting your young person the most. And I know that can be hard for parents to hear, and I know it's tough out there, especially if you're a single parent. But without some firm boundaries, without some role modeling of what you expect, so whether that's, hey, as simple as at the dinner table every night, just go, all right, out of 10, how's everyone feeling about their day? So 10 was amazing, 1 it was poo. You don't have to justify it, you just give a number.
Yeah.
But then you'll know over a week if your kid's under a 5 every night, hey, that might be spark a bit of a conversation. Right? Yeah. Just by using a number. There's no conversation, but if the parents do it as well. But that's a simple thing. Hey, out of 10, how's everyone going? We do it with our chickens, and that just gives us an idea of where the boys are at, and to make sure that we're facilitating a space that nurtures that. So you can do that at home. Out of 10, just use a number. Then and then over time, that might create a safe space for them to open up and go, oh, man, school sucks. I'm being bullied, or getting harassed online, or whatever that might be. Or they might just go, you know what, I'm stressed because I'm struggling at school and I suck. Whatever it is. But then when they do tell us stuff, we need to shut our mouths and listen.
Yes.
And unfortunately, that does not happen enough. Because you know what? We want to one-up, we want to fix them, or just because we're the adult. sometimes, I'll say we've got 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason, right?
Yeah.
Use your ears, and even if you don't believe them what they're saying, just sit there with them and validate them. Because whatever, they're probably testing the waters too, and they just want to see if you care and listen. I think the funniest one for me is parents who work from home think, oh, well, I'm more present. You ask the kids, they're like, mum and dad are less present because I've just got to go and do an email. I've just got to go and do this. And it's like, they go, whatever. So they're actually working from home, I think, has worked against some people too. So, yeah, for me, we just need, and that's why I try and work with the parents and the team, because I'm all about going, well, if you can change a bit here and role model what you want, then the change will inevitably come over time because they're seeing it, right? So if we're yelling and screaming, and then they're going to yell and scream,
100%.
So it's about role modeling what you expect. And if you're role modeling anger, violence, arguing, punching, kicking, then that's what you're going to get. If you're role modeling, time out, breathe, step away, come back and speak calmly 10 minutes later, over time you'll get that, right? But they look up to us. They look up to us, and if whatever they see us do, whatever they see us do is what they're going to become. And whether you like hearing that or not, that is the truth, because you raise your hand if it's you. Like, I look at me and I think I was a byproduct of my mum and dad of some sort.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Good, bad.
Until you realize,
good and bad, right? It's not.
Yeah.
But if you want to make a change, you've got to be the change for these young people. And I'm not saying, I know for some families it's freaking hard and there's different things going on, and you got this kid's got this and this and this and this, but there is a way, and there are supports out there. You've just got to go and find them for yourself first. I feel, as the parent, get yourself sorted, so then you can be good for them, and then it makes it a lot easier. When you're good, it can make it easy to focus on your young people.
Yeah. You've mentioned such absolutely. The stuff that you've said, Reece, is just so true. And what I love about this conversation is that you're coming from a place where you're actually doing the work with these guys and with these young people and with the parents, because I think that when we talk about these things, one of the things that has so much more impact is when the people listening or engaging actually know that you are a person that is living that, or that is really doing that. Which is just really, really fantastic. And I do believe, and this is part of what all of this is about, is talking stuff out and learning about stuff and expressing stuff and really getting to the heart and the nature of things. Now this is not to discount anyone or any parent, as you say, that's going through a hard time. But the thing that I hear a lot, and it's happened quite close to me as well, is, a kid is going through a tough time. Okay, right, you're off to the doctor. They go and they must have ADHD. So whilst I'm definitely not saying that ADHD doesn't exist, etc., I think that a lot of the time, as a young person like yourself, Reece, as a teen, I was very quickly put onto medication because I had anxiety and panic attacks in my sleep. And straight away it was, she's got anxiety and panic disorder, and and before I knew it, it was this whirlwind onto much stronger things, much bigger drugs. And so it continues because we're just not quite coming in and honing in on what the actual problem might be, and the attention and time. I think that we are all so busy with time, whether that be work, running your own business, school drop-offs, school pickups, all those sorts of things. And I just really, really loved that technique and that tool of asking your kid out of 10, how was your day today? Like, that is just fantastic. And then just to see those numbers repeat and kind of where you can intervene from here. So, and
you can do it yourself. And you do it yourself.
Yeah.
So you're role modeling it too. It's not just about them, it's about everyone there. And just on the on the label thing too. Yeah, I agree. Like, I think getting a label ADHD can be a powerful thing, right? So then to best manage it. But it's funny, I had a friend who worked at Logan Hospital and in the children's area, and she said the doctor there would have lines up of parents coming in, forcing him to give them a diagnosis when he's like, there's nothing wrong with your kid.
Yes.
So sometimes it's like, well, because they've been a bit crazy and stuff. If we have a label, then it's more about us than them, right? It's saying, well, my kid's got this, so that's why he can do that. It's like, well, no,
we can legitimize it then.
Yeah, well, but yeah, they've got ADHD, but you're feeding them a can of Coke, bag of chips, and a bag of lollies. It's like, well, yeah, okay, what part, and that's not to judge people, but that's sometimes we don't know what we don't know, right? And like I was anxiety, depression, suicidal, tics, whatever. I became those labels. I thought that was all I am, and that's when you diagnose a kid too young, and that's all you tell them. As they become older, they use that's their fortress. Then they actually don't get seen for who they are, because I believe ADHD and autism and stuff, the spectrum, I believe they're superpowers. Like I know people that are super millionaires running massive businesses because it's a superpower.
Because you see life so differently.
Yeah.
Yes.
But then you get them on these phones and TikTok and all the other rubbish, and then people just start believing all this other rubbish, and it's like, no, because I'm still Reece for Reece. I'm not anxiety. Yeah, that's been a big part of my life, all those things, but I'm Reece and I'm a superpower because and these are my strengths. And that's another big thing I work with. I try and bring strengths out of the parents and the child, and we focus on those versus just who gives a shit about the labels. Like, get a label, that's cool, but if you use the label to your advantage so you can manage and be your best version, not make it limit you to become someone that you're not. And that's where I feel with the young people at the moment, because of the access they have online and stuff, they use it to go, well, I am going to be, no, you're right, it's just your dog.
Yes.
It's your, but we use it to go, well, I can get out of doing my assignment. I can take a week off school. And then what are we setting themselves up? So what we're saying is that, well, that's what you can do for the rest of your life, rather than going, yeah, right now you're struggling, that's okay. Like, even though I went through my struggles that I spoke about, I showed up to work every single day. I didn't take sick days, which is, to me, I did the opposite. I finished one of my jobs with 500 hours of sick leave. That is not good.
Wow.
I should have taken so many days off, right? But I didn't. So I was the opposite. But then I find we're in a period now where people just don't want to work. I'm feeling a bit low today. It's like, well, we've got to somehow build that emotional and physical resilience, right? And you don't build it by putting a label on someone who then uses it to go, well, I don't want to work. I don't want to do anything with my life, because then they don't get to be their best version.
No. Yeah.
And
absolutely.
I feel that's the realm we're in at the moment.
Yeah, that's right. And it definitely does also, as you said before, come from home, and learning how am I, that thing of introspection, of that being able to introspect yourself, and why am I feeling this way, and where are these feelings coming from? Even those really simple things for ourselves, if we practice those things ourselves and then teach them too, we start to, I think, turn away kind of like from turning to the blocks, whether that be working too much, finding excuses not to, or numbing in whatever form that comes in, because we tend to do that so much as humans, all of us do, because some things are just too painful or too frustrating to feel. So 100%. It really, really is absolutely empowering stuff, Reece, and I could talk to you about this for hours, because I just think that it just needs so much work, but I suppose just what if you were to give a young person, older whoever they are, Reece, right? If you had to just give a bit of advice in this moment from what this was all about today, about taking responsibility and, going through that part of your life story to where you are now and the things that have impacted you the most, what's something that you would really like to leave your viewers with today?
Oh, good question. I think if I was going to give myself advice, right, back when I was younger or going through it, I would say it's okay to feel crap. It's okay to have things go wrong in your life. It's okay to be challenged. What's not okay is when we do nothing about it, because you're impacted and those around you are impacted, and there comes especially as you become 18 or older, you need to take that step forward and go, you know what, I need to start to own some of this stuff so I can be the best version for me. And I feel if more people did that, we would have less of a broken world. We would have, we wouldn't need a mental health system. We wouldn't need some of this stuff out there that we have that are, for me, aren't really doing the job it should be anyway for the people that need it. So for me, just be okay that you're struggling, but don't be okay that you're doing nothing about it. And what might be big for me could be small for someone else, but that's okay too.
Yes.
Right? Don't compare yourself. Don't minimize what you're going through because someone else is going through something bigger. Like I said, I went to counselling last year because I was overwhelmed in a good way. Like, who gives a shit? Just go and find a space that's for you, that you can work through to find your best version, because everyone has so much to give. And I feel like especially since COVID, we've all gone internally within and we're not out here expressing ourselves enough. So
yes, absolutely. And I definitely think that COVID was what started a lot of all this media stuff, you know, and
100%.
the diagnoses and turning to the media and kind of locking ourselves up. We've lost a lot of that face-to-face value and that socialization. So yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's absolutely fantastic, Reece. Thank you so much for coming on today.
Thanks for having me.
No, you're absolutely welcome. You're welcome back, as I say to all the other guests, to any time.
I think we could easily do a stage 2, I think, or chapter 2.
Yeah. There is a lot. There's so much to talk about and so much to get out there. And I think when you're actually doing the thing and you're seeing the experiences and bringing people on and just sharing them and talking about the stuff is amazing. Can I just ask you as well, please, to do me a favor? I was hoping that I was going to be able to set up what we're using to stream this to get people's comments through. I've tried to go onto the Trauma Network Facebook page, but it's not showing us live. I don't know why either. Could be
I can see it.
I don't know.
I can see it. There's nothing there. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Cool. No worries. But if I can ask you to just perhaps just leave a comment with your contact details, and if anyone wanted to get in contact with you, where they can find you, we might. You never know. We might have some. Do you offer anything online for parents and youth at all?
Yeah. So I do most of my stuff online, to be honest.
Oh, fantastic.
So yeah, I do online sessions, and I'm about to kicking off next month. I've got a 6-week parent program that I do, so that kicks off. Okay. I've got another one kicking off. That'll just be getting released tomorrow, I think. So that'll be kicking off second Wednesday of May. So.
Oh, very exciting.
So obviously locally I go and see people face to face, but yeah, a lot of my stuff's online. Like I've got clients in America now and all sorts. So yeah.
Oh, it's fantastic to know. So yeah, if you don't mind just dropping those links below, because you never know, we might get people as well, and even just to speak to you as someone who's, you know, mental health advocate as well. As we've said, we are here, guys. You know, that's what it's all about, is bringing it together and working through things. So, thank you very much, Mr. Anderson. Very, very such a pleasure to have you here.
Thanks for having me. Good to meet you.
I did also, yes, lovely. Finally, we've got each other on Facebook, and you know, we connect every now and then. But it's good to actually do this. But just before you do go, I also just wanted to ask you how you fared up after it was 100 kilometers you did, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, last year 100 kilometers with a 10 kilo vest walk. That was for Top Blokes, for the place I work, the foundation I work for. So yeah, we do a lift the load every October where anyone can sign up and raise money, but it's usually for the 10 kilo vest, do 50k over a whole month, so run or walk. But I decided to do 100k in one go, so I started at like 11:30 Wednesday night and finished at about 5 p.m. Thursday night. So
good on you.
The next day it was a bit sore, but I think within a couple of days I was good. I was pretty good. Like had a good support crew, and like my daughter was there selling raffle tickets. Like it was amazing. Like it was just you know, it's not about. I love challenging myself physically, but you know, it's something it's bigger than me, right? So
that's right.
Yeah, so I was trying to see what I'll do this year. Watch the space.
Yes, and up onto the next thing, right? Yes.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm always keen to do something out of the box.
Yeah. No, that's great. Great incentive. But I did definitely see that, and I was thinking, oh gosh, because that the lactic acid in the next couple of days. But I mean, we do practice for it, right? But yes,
I trained pretty hard for it. So it was, but but yeah, you're still going to have the pains. And yeah, I think I sat down at the end, and when I had a beer with everyone, and then I felt hammered. I had a beer and I felt smashed, and then got
Yeah.
home and had to crawl up the stairs to bed. So there you go.
Yeah, there we go. Yes, exactly. Well, thank you so much.
But it's all worth it. It's all worth it.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, and fantastic incentives too, all for a reason, which makes it even that much more. I think that driving factor is just very, very special.
100%.
Yeah. Well, thank you. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your Sunday.
Oh, well, you too.
Yeah, look forward to having you again sometime.
Yeah, let's do it. All right. Thanks heaps.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Thanks, Reece. Bye.
Bye.
Anyway, screen's changed for a second there. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining us today on Out of the Fog, the Trauma Network. And I hope that you were able to take some value away from what we spoke about. If you are someone who has a story to share, or if you would like to come on and talk about your life experiences, in the hope of encouraging someone else that might be going through a hard time, then please send me a message. I would absolutely love to have you on, and hopefully we can really get the voice of mental health out there, reaching more people and touching more lives and giving someone hope, right? One of the passions here is to decrease suicide rates as well. So please do jump on if you can. And other than that, thank you so much for watching. If you would like to get hold of Reece, he will be leaving his contact details for you to do so. And you can definitely send him a message and contact him. And if you missed part of the video, remember to watch the replay. And Country Coaching also has its podcast, Healing Horizons, which is on Spotify. So the live that we've done today, that audio will be extracted and loaded onto there if you would like to listen. And of course, there are other sessions that are available there too. So any comments, anything like that, do please continue to comment or send them in. Unfortunately, I can't actually see them off where we're streaming from, but we will definitely get back to them. So thank you so much, guys. Take care, and great to see you all.